sitting here with you today, no makeup, my sweats on, because I just feel like this need to speak to her, the rawness of you, the realness of you, your truth. You know that you are not the same person anymore. You know, even by the one little detail that is, you don't want to act from a place of trauma anymore. You feel stuck and you know that there's something out there for you that's different to what you have now. But you're not embodying it. You're waiting. My name is Katerina and I am your shadow guide. I help you in the underworld here to figure out your shit, heal the wounds that were put upon you, and walk out the other side, healed, healing, aligned, soul-led. We can so often get lost in the waiting for your bank balance to look different, waiting for friendships to come into your life, waiting for someone to love you. To choose you. But in that waiting, we pause those things. Because your person will choose you. You wouldn't have to wait. In the waiting, we don't live how we are meant to live in order to get to our path. You know, the way I think about it is when you've got someone in your life, you choose different things because of that person. So you might not go to certain events. You might not go on holiday to somewhere. You've paused your life, but you know you're ready. Like you know you are. You wouldn't be watching this video, you wouldn't be looking at my channel if you didn't feel a little bit of a call. This is the last day of the Lionsgate portal sale. My wealth rebirth is significantly dropped. This is the last time that my wealth rebirth course will be at this price. It ends at midnight on the 12th of August. The link is below if you feel called. I spoke about this before when you're holding on to something, but it could also be a way of life. You're holding on to maybe a belief system that you know you've outdated, but you are not embodying your new belief system. You are waiting. I think about it for my wealth journey. I knew everything. I had done my inner work. I knew why I did certain things. I had uncovered the trauma of my money and my wealth. But I realized I was not acting from the new belief. I was not acting from the healed. version of me. I still was waiting. I was waiting for evidence before I actually moved forward. And as soon as I started to do more aligned things, and I don't mean just spending money for the sake of spending money, but as soon as I went to places, as soon as I learnt things and I went back to school, and as soon as I did things that embodied, that my Venus placement, things just started to happen. Money came in, not just from my business, but from people. And I realized it's all a frequency. And I know people talk about this all the time, but when you're living in it, when you're living in that wound and that trauma, it doesn't matter what anyone says, you so struggle to get out of that. It's like embedded in you. How do I trust? How do I spend when no money's coming in? And it's the energy of it. So I found this way easier when I learnt astrology and when I was able to practice it within myself. Because everyone would talk about frequencies and everyone would talk about, the act like you have it before it comes and then it will come. But I just couldn't get there. I couldn't get there. Astrology helped me with all of that learning and understanding of how I, as myself, attract. I knew I wasn't my old self anymore. I knew my beliefs were different. The way I would react was different. But I wasn't embodying my new self. I was in the in-between, and you have to choose one. You can't stay in that in-between because life will just feel like it's on pause, like you're waiting. If you have a decision that you know deep inside you want to make, but you are not doing it, you are just pausing your life. And I'm not doing this to blame. I have been there so many times. But I am your guide and I don't want you to do what I did. Learn from my mistakes. I am 35 years old and I have just started to earn consistently in my life. And I am being so real with that. I have just recently started to honor rest. And with rest, more abundance has come. At 35 years old, I've just started to heal the wound with my body and stop looking at myself as a project, but being who I am and knowing that my body is my vessel and I have to care for it. I do not shame it. And I'm going to be really real with you. I'm sitting here and I am scared to say that stuff out loud because does that make me a failure? Do the things that happened in my life make me a failure? But I wouldn't be here if I didn't go through those things. So I know that that's not true. But this is what healing is. This is what my astrology work, my shadow work does. So you know that the narratives that you've got in your head are false because you've done the work. So you can tell it to shut the F up in a kind and empathetic way. I feel like I have a lot of placements that I needed to really work through. But one of them was Lilith. And I think it was magnified by the fact that I have a lot of my planets in the 8th house, and Lilith is there too. So my release, my calling, my path would only happen if I did shadow work, would only happen if I go to the depths of my soul and understand myself and why I do certain things. Lilith, there was a lot of fear there. Fear of being seen, fear of being misunderstood, fear of being left. And the funny thing is that all of those things have happened to me multiple times. And every time I'm okay. So what does that say to my brain? Be your most authentic self, because people are going to leave. The right people will stay. Yeah, the most aligned people will stay, and my husband will stay. But I'm not married, but I'm saying my husband. But if people leave, they're meant to leave. For whatever reason, they are meant to leave. Whether they come back into your life or not, they are meant to leave. And my brain was like, okay, if they're meant to leave, then I just won't show my true self, because they're going to leave anyway. And it created this huge void in me that was so scared of being seen, but deeply craved being seen. And the more and more I hid myself, the more and more I craved it. I craved to be seen. I knew that I needed to be myself more with people. I knew I needed to be more real and share my deep truths and be vulnerable. But again, I wasn't doing it. I was waiting. Even though I knew that was the answer, I was waiting. And I spoke about it in another video where I lived my Lilith wound recently. But it was such a beautiful experience, because I now know, and I'm going to get emotional, I now know what it's like to be fully seen. And that was beautiful. You have to start embodying the woman that you want to be. And I'm not going to sit here and say the aesthetically pleasing version, like people wake up at this time, or they go to the gym at this time, or they, set up these $1 million companies or whatever it is. I'm talking about the soul led you, not the ego led you. I did so many things for my ego, and this, I would have never thought I'd be doing this. But my soul led path is in transformation. So here I am. And I have never been more at peace. I don't know what the future has in hold for me. I don't know where I am going, but I am so content with where I am, and I'm not hiding anymore. Shadow work is the only way you can do that. My shadow work is the only way you can do that. I am here to guide you. I want you to get to the complete clarity that I have for myself. I want you to be soul led. It's not going to look like the way you thought, maybe. The way I wanted to make money was be behind the scenes. I don't want anyone to see me. I didn't want that. And I thought before it was like, oh, because, you know, I just don't like social media. I don't want to be in front. I don't want to do any of that. I always knew I wanted to do something different with a career. I didn't know what that was, but I knew that, like, I wanted to own my own business. And I thought I wanted to do it that no one knew what I was doing. And that's like Scorpio, 8th house, like secrecy kind of thing. But also it's like the fear of that, it's the wounded of that. And here I am posting on YouTube and talking openly to people, like in outside of online, about my work and working with them. And that's soul led. And as soon as I chose soul led, as soon as I chose this path, things started to get easier for me. But I didn't know my wounds until I did the shadow work, and I didn't know my deep wounds until I did astrology shadow work. Until I looked at Saturn in the 12th or Lilith in the 8th. That was when like the real shit started to happen for me. And I say this, like, I talk about this in a way of wealth, but when I say wealth, I mean all of it. Abundance, love, joy, freedom. Everyone's path is completely different. So your joy would be different to my joy. Your magnetism would be different to my magnetism. But the healing, we all have to take the same path. We all have to go into the depths, go through the caves, the crevices, the deepest, darkest parts of ourselves that we're so afraid of. Because that's the only way that you can get to your complete soul-led path. Otherwise, it will always be ego-led. And that is okay, like if that's what you want. But when you have the complete peace and you feel content because you know you're on your path, what you were born to do, if you've done the work, even if it's not through me, and you've done the shadow work, and your life isn't quite shifting, you're probably in that like waiting zone. And sometimes the universe makes you wait because it feels like you still haven't learned all the lessons before you move on to the next stage. But also it might be because you're holding on to a belief still and you don't realize that you're not embodying your new belief. You might know of the new belief and you might, like I said, like still like you're like, oh yeah, no, of course, but you're still not acting like the new belief, you're acting like the old belief. So that might be money, that might be like setting boundaries. And setting boundaries with your family is like the hardest thing to do because they feel like they know you the most because they've known you for the longest. And you've been kind of like your unfiltered self with your family, most likely. But they still don't know you. Like, they don't know the healed version of you now unless you're really actively, like, in each other's lives and talk about that stuff a lot. But maybe it's just a boundary. Maybe in your work life, in your relationships, You set boundaries, you allow people to know like that you're not okay with that, or you're not available at this time, or whatever it is, right? But are you doing that with your family or no? Or you think, oh, I'll just wait. Maybe that's what's blocking you. Maybe it's you're holding on to someone and you shouldn't. Maybe it's a career path that you feel like you're not fully in, but but you think to yourself, oh, it's okay for now, but something better, like I'll wait until something better comes along and then I'll do something. It's natural for us to wait. I think waiting is like a processing. But if we stay in that processing for too long, we really do pause our life. If you've watched a few of my videos, then you know that I'm obsessed with death and rebirth, mythology, the archetypes of the planets and the houses, and I do it in a romantic, poetic way. But it's just how my mind works. I love the romanticized versions of things. But I really do want you to come with me. I really do want to help guide you to your wounds and be a part of that healing for you. I really do want you to walk up those stairs from the depths and be on your soul-led path. Like, I know my path. I'm here because of it. And I want you to have the same. I want you to feel the amazingness of like when you know why you do certain things and that you no longer do them because you know, okay, this is from this trauma. This is from this belief. If you have Lilith in the third house, I want you to post that poetry that you wrote the other night. I want you to speak up around a table of people. I want you to show your raw self. I think as a collective, the more each individual heals, the more the collective heals. That's honestly how I believe we'll get through shit. If every person did their healing and did their inner work, honestly, this world would be a completely different place. We wouldn't be navigating toxicity so much. And I want to point out that, like, this isn't, you're never fully healed. I'm not this, like, healed, aligned person that's like, follow me. But I know why I do things. And when you know why you do things, you are honestly just naturally less likely to do them. Unless you're a narcissist, but you don't, you know why you don't, you know why you do that shit. And you're like, I want to do better. Because you know that someone else has given you that trauma. They have been dictating your life. It almost makes you feel like, I don't want to do that, because that's saying that that person who spoke to me like that or did those things to me like that, they win. And I don't know if that is a good way to think about it, and I don't know if it is a, like, it's easy to understand, but I don't look at it in like a, oh, F them, like, kind of horrible way. I just realized they had trauma. It's on me. I don't want to do that anymore, because I know I don't want to carry their trauma anymore. So I'm healing it, not only for me, but if I have kids, for them. So it doesn't carry through anymore. It stops at me. If you feel the call to the wealth rebirth, the link is below for that. It is, today is the last day for that sale. It won't ever be that price again, like I said. It is a complete blueprint for your rebirth, and in the link below, all the information is there if you want a more detailed understanding of what it provides. But yeah, you also need your birth time for it, just so you know. There's multiple different ways which I've put in the guide of how you can get your birth time. In England, I'm not sure about any other countries, but in England, it's really hard to get your time of birth from the hospital. They don't put it on the birth certificate, which baffles me really, because like it would have like your time of birth on there with every other piece of information, but it doesn't. So yeah, there's lots of different ways that you can figure out your birth time, but in this country, I'm not sure if you can go to a hospital and find that information as easily as you could in America. I think they talk about a lot of the time in the US that they can get it from their hospital. I want to thank you so much for watching, and I hope this Lions portal has been beautiful for you. And yeah, all my information is below again. Comment below if you feel like any of this called to you. I would love to know if like my stories and what I've said has hit some of you. But anyway, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video.